ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore coming to you live from deep in the mountains of the Missouri Ozarks on Thursday, the 22nd day of August, year of our Lord 2019. Welcome to the John Moore Show. A very severe thunderstorm just arrived here at my location, and I may have to transfer over the telephone and disconnect all this expensive computer equipment because, well, lightning will just ruin your whole day and certainly wipe out computer equipment. So we'll continue here using Skype and the internet as long as it makes sense to do so. If the lightning gets too close, well, we will go back over to the telephone. We have open lines this first half hour. Tom Berryhill will join us at the bottom of the hour. Second hour, we'll have Steve Hunt with us at the top of the hour, and then open lines again at the bottom of the hour. I was just checking up on what's going on with the Russian hoax that was in the headlines for so many months, about 2.5 years, really got old. The Democrats have rode that horse until that horse is dead. Now it's our turn, us being the good guys. There's about 10 documents that, if released unredacted, will probably lead to indictments. The timing of that is critical. I have no doubt whatsoever that releasing these documents is being discussed at the very highest levels, including President Trump in the Oval Office. So the question of if they should be released and when is a critical matter. And I'm hearing a very heavy downpour outside here, by the way. No lightning and thunder at the moment. That will certainly get your attention. I've had some damage here from lightning strikes. It took out a postal scale, electronic postal scale. Took out a not one but two different cordless telephone units. And I think that's the only thing I can recall right now. I just disconnected one piece of electronic equipment just before the show started. It might be a good time just to talk about lightning protection. Surge protectors, the ones you normally get from the hardware store, they're not meant and they will not protect your equipment from lightning. They can't, they won't. Don't even think about it. Even the high quality surge protectors, and a very good friend of mine, he has more than 50 patents to his personal credit in radio frequency engineering. His headquarters took a lightning strike. It cost tens of thousands of dollars in damage. Took him nearly 2 years to track down all the little bits and pieces that had been damaged. And he had the best, highest quality lightning protection known to mankind at the time. So, point being, if you believe there will be a thunderstorm, lightning storm in your area, at your home, at your headquarters, disconnect everything. Disconnect all the antennas, disconnect the power supplies. Quite frankly, that's the only real protection when it comes to lightning, in my opinion. You can do what you want, of course. That's what I do. So I'm doing my show here and monitoring the situation. I don't do a whole lot on Facebook, but one of our listeners sent me a link. Apparently there was an interview on the Weather Channel, hugely popular TV show, the Weather Channel. They were interviewing an expert on lightning. And in the back on the wall behind the expert was the Navy map showing the East Coast and Florida underwater. I've talked to my webmaster, Tim Spencer, previously about how to get things like that off of Facebook and onto my website. We've not figured out how to do that yet. If there is a way to do it, we're not aware of it. So I wrote a comment about this map and this video on the Weather Channel, and I went ahead and posted that on my Facebook page. I don't do very much on Facebook, but that was very significant, and I want to thank the listener who found that and got that to me. It's not very frequently we get that kind of image from mainstream media. It really isn't. Not in the format that we got it. Now we have more than 24 images from movies and TV shows where the Navy map was visible and was present, or various forms of it, sometimes highly stylized, like on the Hunger Games. That's a very significant map. It is stylized, but you can tell that North America has different coastlines, significantly different coastlines than it does now. Getting back to the Russian hoax, the witch hunt. The witch hunt, as President Trump has been referring to this. The connections go all the way to the Obama White House, the Oval Office, President Obama, Valerie Jarrett, who was actually running the country. I'm not part of and do not have access to the discussions taking place at the White House. I don't particularly want to. Let them do what they do. They'll make the best decision that will help the president get reelected and help the country. Serious crimes were committed. Very serious crimes at the highest levels involving Hussein Obama, Valerie Jarrett, the heads of various agencies, Department of Justice, FBI, CIA, Director of National Intelligence. The one hero in the whole mess was the admiral in charge of the National Security Agency. He truly was a hero, and is a hero in my opinion. The Navy tends to have very Constitution-believing, Constitution-supporting men and women throughout the Navy. That's been their track record for more than 2 centuries. So the Attorney General, Barr, a lot of what's going to be happening the next year or two is going to be his responsibility. The man he's appointed as special prosecutor to look into this has a reputation that is stellar when it comes to these matters. He's previously gone after Mr. Mueller in a whole different matter. I understand and I appreciate the cynicism. And to a certain extent, I share that cynicism. It's certainly, given what we've seen the last more than half century since President Kennedy was assassinated, it certainly would lead one to be cynical as to what may or may not happen at that level of government. I understand that, I appreciate that, and it certainly has a basis in reality. I still maintain hope that this president and this U.S. attorney will do the right thing for the right reasons. The consequences of indictments against Hussein Obama and these other top-level officials will be severe, very severe. The George Soros-funded, trained, equipped protesters, they will hit the streets in minutes if indictments are made public. The consequences of not doing it are just as severe, if not more so. What was taking place there in the Hussein Obama administration was an orchestrated coup of a sitting president, the illegal actions against a candidate running for president. The rule of law needs to prevail. It absolutely needs to prevail. If it doesn't, our republic is in very serious trouble. For men and women at that level to conduct the activities they conducted in clear violation of multiple laws should not be tolerated. as I said recently, I think some of those men and women should be looking at relocating to a place with no extradition treaty with the United States. I believe Chile is one of those countries, unless that's changed. I'm sure there's other countries around the planet that they could move to and live out their lives without sitting in a federal lockup somewhere and suffering the humiliation of being tried and prosecuted and convicted in a federal courtroom. That's where this is headed, it's where it should be headed anyway. Donald Trump will be reelected in 14 months. In my opinion, that's a given. Will it be easy? No, it won't be easy. Now they're throwing all this racism and xenophobia things at him, which of course has no basis in reality whatsoever. That's all they got left, is to make up stories about this man that have no basis in reality. It's hard to say who the Democratic nominee is going to be. It may even end up being Hillary. We've got a caller on hold here. We've got Tom in Florida. Good morning, Tom. You're on air, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, Florida really gets hit with lightning where I'm at. Best thing you can do if you can't find a shelter in your house or a building, you go right into a car because, it can be ruthless. I've been getting close. It's pretty rough. Your legs start tingling and shaking a little bit. Even if it's like
strike. That's a close strike, yeah.
Yeah, man. It's like, I was mowing the yard one day and it hit like I'd say about 300 yards away, but it still, I can feel the tingling. Let me tell you, it's scary. You bet on that. But the reason I really called you though is John I was just watching the news. 90% of these illegals, when they have a court date, never show up in front of the judge.
That's right.
Okay. And if that isn't an invasion, and if that ain't by design, by the swine that are allowing Texas and all these states to go blue, I don't know what it is. And if these dummies don't wake up in the Republican Party, they're screwed. And I'm going to tell you this, like I told Michael. If I don't see Trump going and arresting these people in these sanctuaries, cities, then it's all a filthy lie. Until the law is being enforced, the federal laws. We had a civil war because of the feds. Now, if Trump does not have these mayors and these commissioners and all these other freak show weirdos arrested for trying to aid and abet and collude and usurp the power of the president, I know what's going to happen here. But it's not looking good in Texas, I can tell you that. Look at California, Mexifornia. Mexifornia is gone. 7 million in that state.
Yep.
7 million, and they don't go to court appearances. And you know what? I want to ask you one more question, John. All we hear about white privilege and all that, what about all these minority groups that have affirmative action? Who's the one that really needs affirmative action? That's what I want to know. That's why I asked President Trump. Who's the one that really needs affirmative action?
Well,
I can tell you where I live, sure. You need reverse affirmative action where I'm at.
Affirmative action, and I've mentioned this before, but it's been a while. A very bright, well-educated black doctor.
I call it affirmative action.
Well, who became a doctor through their own brilliance and hard work. They won't set up a practice in a black neighborhood because of affirmative action, and the African Americans don't want a doctor who became a doctor because of affirmative action. They're very aware of it. So these black doctors will practice in white neighborhoods because there's less awareness in the white neighborhoods of affirmative action than there is in the black neighborhoods.
Great point.
Yeah, and it's affirmative action on the face of it is racism. It's making a decision based on race, as opposed to making a decision based on merit. It turns things upside down is what it does there, Tom.
Well, John, one more thing. Where I'm at right now, when I was a high schooler, I graduated high school, we were 78% of the population. Right now, we're down to 12. Figure that one out. That is not a microcosm for the rest of the country in the near future.
And that's in what county in Florida?
That's in Dade and Broward.
Okay. All right. Well, hang in there, Tom. Appreciate the call.
You got it. Have a wonderful day, John.
Okay, thank you. The call number is 800-313-9443. other countries around the world, they're not surprised at how much racial strife there is in this country. What they're surprised at is how little there is. That's what they're surprised at. This whole thing about American exceptionalism, that we're Americans, we can do things other people can't. Our dominance in various athletic events has led to some very unwise and unreal expectations for what Americans are, who Americans are, what we can do, what we can't do. We're all just people. And American exceptionalism has somewhat skewed Americans' opinion of themselves. That's my opinion. Regardless, President Trump will be able to do things his second term that he simply can't do the first term. I'll give a good example. Young Mr. Kennedy was going to be taking on the pharmaceutical industry and vaccines. That was quickly shelved within a few weeks of President Trump being elected. And I understand why. President Trump is a very pragmatic man, and taking on the pharmaceutical industry before he gets reelected the second term would not be wise. There's just too many billions of dollars, too much power to go up against there. You really don't want to do that. Here's our break. We'll be right back.
It's happening, ladies and gentlemen. We here at RBN are working with Front Sight Firearms Training Institute to bring our audience the best in combat, tactical, and defensive firearms training. Whether you're a private citizen who is new to firearms, or you have a concealed weapon permit and want a level of training that surpasses what you've received from your local gun range, Front Sight provides priceless education and skills taught by seasoned law enforcement, military, and private citizen instructors to levels that far exceed law enforcement and military standard. With nearly 1 million responsible citizens trained from every town, city, and state from across the United States, Front Sight has bolstered the Patriot movement to a whole new level. Contact Dan Sutterfield by phone at 573-762-2356 or 573-465-2356 or shoot him an email at domedan, DOMEDAN, @hotmail.com. This is a limited time opportunity. Don't miss it.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting Truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen, here on Thursday, the 22nd of August. I believe I overlooked the prepper tip of the day with those technical difficulties at the beginning of the show. Regardless, prepper tip of the day is to practice your bug-out route in the daylight and practice your bug-out route at night. I know out here at nighttime, these back roads, it's pretty much like being in a cave. Going through the national forest at night. You don't know what dark is till you've been in this national forest at night, and everything's different. Everything is different. So it's very important to do both. Practice your bug-out route in the daytime and practice your bug-out route at night. And if you can have alternate routes, that would be very important also. These matters, when I say these matters, these geopolitical matters, are moving forward very quickly. My mantra is that we have 14 months being the time between now and November 2020, 14 months to get ready for whatever's coming at us. The socialists, communists, Democrats, Muslims, they know that they will not win the 2020 election. They know that. They probably should have very legitimate concerns that they're going to lose the House of Representatives. They're making complete fools of themselves in districts that could easily turn over and become Republican. They're finished. They're finished. Their opportunity to take over this country at the ballot box is done. President Trump will appoint 1, possibly 2 more Supreme Court justices. They're finished. More than 100 federal court judges. President Trump will change everything in this country for a generation or more. They know they're finished at the ballot box. What does that leave? Civil disorder, rioting, invasion. That's what's coming. And I've got private confirmations from some pretty high-level people that in fact is the case. Now is the time to be getting ready, making sure you have a safe haven for you and your family, that you have all the provisions you need. Potable water, food, a way to grow food, communications equipment separate from the telephone company, a way to defend yourself and your family and your possessions, transportation, all those things. You know, how you're going to keep warm in the wintertime with the power grid down. You know, these things like this that are very important. They're not optional. They are not optional. 14 months may sound like a long time to you, but it's not. It will fly by. You need to set your priorities, work on those priorities. You can work on 2 or 3 things at a time. Why not? A plan to run off to the national forest with a minivan full of food and clothing and the kids is not a plan at all. That's just a prescription for disaster is all that is. You need a viable plan, a genuine, bona fide, safe haven. That's what you need. And it needs to happen. It needs to happen yesterday. It needs to happen now, while you can get it done. I'm not suggesting that you quit your job and go deep in the debt. Obviously, it's your choice. Make what I call prudent preparations. You may need to bunk up with a family member in a safe area. Get a travel trailer to live in. Whatever it takes. But it needs to happen. It needs to happen right now. I guarantee you these 14 months will just fly by. I keep repeating myself, but I need to make an impression here about the severity and the urgency of this situation. It is severe. It is urgent. And based on everything I'm seeing from private confidential sources as well as public open sources, it's a clear and present danger. Not some make-believe story that has no basis in reality. do what you got to do. Talk to the people you need to talk to. Make a plan. Implement the plan. And live it. It's not very often I have a hard date that we anticipate something to go. I've been dealing with this for 20 years now with Planet X. Since the year 2000, I got involved in this matter. But this is a hard date when we're very concerned that something has a high likelihood of happening. Nothing's definite, of course not. I can't sit here and tell you something's definitely going to happen after the president gets reelected. I can sit here and tell you there's a high likelihood. That's enough for me. Once you get your preparations underway, you'll find you have some peace of mind. Once you have a viable situation that can really support you and the people you care about, you will really have some peace of mind. A form of insurance that you'll find very gratifying. It can become a hobby. Gardening is a hobby for millions of men and women in this country. Animal husbandry, a lot of people like taking care of chickens and rabbits and goats and all those kinds of things. Here's our bottom of the hour break.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the energy cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an energy cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 22nd of August. This is the 24 minutes I look forward to every week where we literally help many, hundreds of people worldwide get their life back because we tell them about a marvelous healing device. It's called the Energy Cleaner. We begin these conversations with my friend Tom Berryhill, the manufacturer of the Energy Cleaner, giving us our disclaimer. Good morning, Tom.
Morning, John. We're not doctors or medical professionals. We don't diagnose, treat, or cure any illness or disease. The information discussed today is for your education and entertainment only. If you have a medical condition requiring treatment, you should utilize the services of a medical doctor, chiropractor, or other competent practitioner.
All right. Well, Tom, I made a road trip to Washington, D.C. last week. I had the Energy Cleaner with me. My friend Ben Murphy was with me. We had the Energy Cleaner signal on both of our seats in the motor vehicle. When we got to our hotels, we spent, 6 days on the road. We had the Energy Cleaner signal on both the beds. And after the first day, he told me he was feeling more energy, more energized, and had some great feelings he had not felt in years and years, he said. by the end of the trip, he says, "I want an energy cleaner, John." He says, "Will you loan me this one, the one we took on the trip, until I can buy one?" I said, "Sure. I'll loan it to you until you can buy one." So he's now sleeping on an energy cleaner every night, and he's looking forward to getting his own energy cleaner and a mattress pad to go with it. And this is not an unusual story. It's what we expect, isn't it, Tom?
No, we hear these comments all the time. But, John, be very careful. You know what happens when you loan these things out. Sometimes they start going around the neighborhood. You'll never see it again.
Well, I know it's a slight risk. I understand it, and that's happened already before. But we'll see how that works out. I've known Ben for 30 years, and I'm not really concerned about that part of it. But what I'm concerned about is making America great again, keeping America great, and we need healthy, energetic Americans to do this, don't we, Tom?
Oh, we certainly do. And I was just kidding you about the loaning part, but that does happen, John. You know how we've both experienced that. People are so excited when they start getting rid of their pain issues and they start feeling better, and then their friends, neighbors, and family members want to try it out, and then they loan it to somebody else, and before you know it, nobody knows where the energy cleaner is, and the one that has it doesn't want to give it up. So we always kid around about that, but it has happened. But yeah, just on a road trip like that, it helps so much. And then to get to your destination and have your passenger start commenting like that right there is a testimony to how well this thing works.
It is. It is, absolutely. And what we're talking about for you new listeners is an electronic healing device. For you longtime listeners, this is old news, but maybe you've been pondering and thinking about it and haven't got one yet. An electronic healing device puts out an electrostatic healing signal. It's not a Rife machine, it's not a TENS unit, entirely different technology. This signal goes to every cell in your body, flushing out toxins, bringing in fresh nutrition. That's what cells do. That's how cells function, if they're functioning properly. Occasionally, many of these cells start getting sluggish and slowing down, and you get pain, and you get discomfort. You can't sleep at night. Tom, I was at a high school reunion yesterday. It was kind of an informal event. We had about 27 people there, I guess, men and women. I really felt left out because I didn't have a surgeon's story. I didn't have a doctor's story. I didn't have any test results to talk about. And all my classmates were showing me scars from surgeries on their hands, talking about having test results on various tests that they've had. One very good friend of mine, he had a stent placed in his heart valve situation there about 2 weeks ago that he's recovering from. I really felt left out, Tom, because I haven't had any interaction with a medical doctor since 1985, and so I really felt left out, Tom. But that's a good thing, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, John, and it's hard to believe, but you get around people up in our age bracket, and they don't. Everybody wants to talk about their medical issues because that seems to be such a big part of their lives. And, John, I recently had to get on this Medicare thing. They put you on there automatically with Social Security and all that. I got to that age, and so I had to have a primary care doctor, which I didn't have. And so somebody said, here, go to this doctor. And I went there, and they didn't know what to do with me because I couldn't answer any of the questions they were asking because I hadn't been on any medications or anything. I hadn't visited any doctors, and they couldn't believe it. They didn't know what to do with me. So
right.
They wanted me to do all kinds of tests just to be sure. And I said, I feel pretty good. I'm not going to do anything, and I left. So that was the end of that.
Right. Well,
but I use the energy cleaner myself, and I have for 20 years, and it's worked good for me.
Of course you do. And I want people to join us in being healthy with all the energy we need to do the things that we want to do, the important things, the fun things. And the energy cleaner will help achieve that. Now, if you think you can smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day and have beer, pizza, and ice cream as the main 3 staples for your diet, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. The energy cleaner can't work miracles when it comes to something like that. You need to have lifestyle dietary changes. You need to have attitude changes. You need to get reasonable amount of exercise. And when you use energy cleaner, in addition to doing those things, you're going to have the life you want to have, right, Tom?
Oh, that's certainly true. It really is. And I think people are sitting around too much watching television. Now, if you have to do some of that or you enjoy a show or something, put that energy cleaner pad under you and sit on that while you're on the couch and get some help there while you're watching TV if that's what you're doing. But otherwise, if you have had pain issues, that energy cleaner will help you to minimize or even in so many cases totally eliminate the pain to where you can get out and start being mobile again and enjoying your life and getting out around town, fishing, golfing, hiking, whatever you want to do. And you'll regain your health that way. You have to be active instead of sitting around staring at that television set.
Absolutely. Well, the energy cleaner puts out this signal. It's about the size of a cigar box. It takes 9D as in Delta, 9D cell batteries. No on-off switch, no gauges, no dial, simply one LED light that alternately flashes red or green. One place to plug in one wire. Hopefully that wire will be attached to one of the mattress pads I offer for sale. Just put the mattress pad on your bed, plug it in the energy cleaner, and put a tag on the energy cleaner to remind you to change the batteries every 12 months. That's important. And that's all you need to do is sleep on the energy cleaner pad and start getting your life back. Right, Tom?
That's right, John. It's exactly what you have to do. It's so simple to use. This energy cleaner was designed with simplicity in mind. It's low cost and very simple to use. There's no on-off switches. You just put the batteries in there, and it starts running, and it runs round the clock, 24/7. Many people just choose to use it on their bed. They put the mattress pad on their bed. They plug it into the energy cleaner. In most cases, they just slide that energy cleaner under the bed. It's out of the way. It's functioning. It's ready to go. They lay down at night to go to sleep, and it goes to work while they're sleeping. They get up in the morning, they're refreshed, they go about their daily routines and back in bed that night to get recharged again, and that's exactly what it's doing. It's so simple to use, John. It's a no-brainer to use this system.
Now, there's lots of doubting Thomases out there. I welcome doubting Thomases. I encourage doubting Thomases to ask questions. And I offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. That's from me to you personally, ladies and gentlemen. Something your medical doctor is highly unlikely to do. They'd be out of business pretty quick. But that's what I do, a 90-day money-back guarantee. You can place your order right there at my website at thelibertyman.com using PayPal, MasterCard, Visa. You want to send me a check, my address is there. You can call my toll-free order line 24 hours a day. Here it is, 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. I've done everything I can to make it as easy as possible, Tom, and this helps. Making it easy makes it helps people to get the energy cleaner, get the mattress pad. In fact, I'm getting a fresh batch, I believe, tomorrow from you, aren't I?
That's correct, John. You're getting another shipment of energy cleaner units, and they're ready for shipment. Anybody is interested would just go to your website, place their order, and they'll have it in a few days.
We got a caller on hold. We got Alan in North Dakota. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning, gentlemen. I was wondering why it's called the energy cleaner as opposed to perhaps the energy healer.
Well, that's a good question.
Well,
the man who gave it the name is deceased. But go ahead, Tom.
Well, I'll tell the story. The original inventor of this technology, Alan, was Mr. Lee Kroc. He lived in Caldwell, Ohio, Noble County, Ohio, and he came up with the idea. It's a long story, but the condensed version is that he originally called it aura therapy. He kept changing it, and I approached him because I had the facility and the equipment and the knowledge to turn his idea into a commercial product. And I asked him if I could work with him, if he needed help. He said he really was looking for somebody, and the rest is history. We started working together, and I set up the molds and the printed circuits and everything to do this, and it took off, and been working on it ever since. And Lee kept changing the name. For a while, it was called an energy stimulator. I thought that would have been better, but he kept wanting to change it, and he called it an energy cleaner because it was like a vacuum cleaner that sucks the toxins out of your cells. But it uses energy, and he called it an energy cleaner. And I said, Lee, why don't we work on that name a little bit? And he says, oh, it doesn't matter. He says people will understand. Well, it caught on, and it's there. And once it becomes known that way, I mean, it's you're just going to have trouble changing it. And we just left it. I got tired of arguing with the man, so. And he was paying the bill, so whatever he wanted to call it is what we called it.
And that's okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Helen. Appreciate the call. The call number is 800-313-9443. It's really counterintuitive to have a homicide detective give you health advice, which that's what I am. I'm a homicide detective, radio talk show host. I have no medical credentials. I know more about health than many people do, but I'm no professional in that particular expertise. But here I am sitting here doing this, telling you that the energy cleaner I offer for sale, manufactured by somebody who's not a healthcare professional either, Mr. Tom Berryhill, that the energy cleaner will do things for you that medical doctors can't do, that those hospitals that take up a square block with multi-millions of dollars worth of sophisticated equipment can't do for you. That the energy cleaner can do for you what the healthcare profession cannot do for you. But that's what I'm doing. And I will continue to do so because it's the truth. And Tim Spencer is living proof of that. He'd interacted with the medical profession his entire adult life due to his 2 injuries he suffered on 2 different U.S. submarine cruises. And he got his life back. He went from being an invalid to riding his ponies out on his hobby farm using a chainsaw, other tools, climbing a radio tower. Now that's an athletic event, isn't it, Tom? Climbing a radio tower?
It really is. It's something I won't do anymore, but I've climbed plenty of them, John. Been up 1,000 feet on towers, and it's a workout, I'll tell you that. But for Tim to be able to go, I think it is. It is, if you don't mind crashing into the guy wires. It'd be a little dangerous.
You'd have missed the guy wires, of course. That would be an issue. We got a caller and holder. We got John in Texas. Good morning, John.
Hello. This is John from Arlington, or John from Texas. I want to ask you, when you mentioned Medicare, how is the issue of health care likely to be influenced, or how will it affect the course of the campaign this next year or leading up to it? And I also have the perspective of John Stossel that he did in a 2020 report back in 2008 called Sick in America, Whose Body Is It Anyway? You mentioned Medicare and Social Security. What do you think? How is this going to play out in it, and what do you think would be the best way to go? He is very critical of both private insurance and single-payer systems like they have in Canada. He said both systems only work to drive up costs, create massive overhead.
Okay, well, let me take your question here, John. I'll answer that. Thank you for your call. John is doing what almost all Americans do, and that's skipping over the main question, which is, what is health care? the public discourse is how to pay for what I don't regard as health care at all. If what we did here in this country was, and what I would regard as health care, we wouldn't be about 36 or 37 in longevity, with third world countries having people live longer than us. So that's the question that's not being addressed. And that question is, what is health care? Not how to pay for this allopathic paradigm that really doesn't keep people healthy at all. And I saw clear and convincing evidence of that at my high school reunion yesterday, where my high school classmates were hurting and taking multiple medications and all the rest of that. Here's our last break. We'll be right back. All right, we're back here on Thursday, the 22nd of August. Well, Tom, we talk to people every week. We advise them, we educate them, and they think about the energy cleaner, they ponder it, they wonder, would this thing work for me? And then after a few weeks or months, sometimes they wait a year, they get the energy cleaner, and then after about 3 days of using it, they're thinking to themselves, why in the world did I wait? And we hear that all the time, don't we, Tom?
We hear it all the time. I've heard it for nearly 20 years now, John, and people have had miraculous results at times with this energy cleaner technology, and they've regained their health. Pain-free living is something they only dreamed about, and now they have it. It's a reality in their life, and they can get on with life and enjoy their lives. And it's something that we try to do. We try to educate people on a continuous basis, John. We talk about this every week. People, of course, your customers that have, and your listeners that have purchased energy cleaner systems, so many of them have regained their health. They're back out enjoying their lives. While others are hearing this in disbelief, they can't believe it. You offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. That alone should entice somebody to get off the fence and try it out. Give it a try. There's a very, very small percentage of people that it doesn't help, but most people will notice changes in their health and feeling better overall, well-being, and better sleep, reduced pain, in many cases, total elimination of pain. If somebody is on pain medication, they'll notice that in almost every case they can reduce the pain medication to a very low level or eliminate it altogether, which is, of course, what we'd really like to see. But it's something that 90 days will give you enough time to try out and see if it's going to work for you. So you can't hardly go wrong. Just give it a whirl. It's worth it. It really is.
That's right. That's right. Well, time's wasting. We got 14 months until the election. I got a note here from one of our listeners. The mattress pads are washable. These are factory-made. Mattress pads are meant to go into the washing machine, so that's not an issue. Very high quality. And everything works together on this, the energy cleaner, the mattress pad, to give you the results you're looking for, sleeping as good as you did as a small child, getting the pain mitigation from arthritis pain. Arthritis pain can be very severe, can't it, Tom?
Well, it can, John. We run into people all the time that have these arthritic conditions, and it just gets worse over time as they age, and they would do anything to get rid of that pain. Now, sometimes it even deforms finger joints and so on, but it's better to try to stop it in its tracks, and the energy cleaner will certainly assist with that and give you some pain-free living. So it's certainly worth looking into. and give it a try. We do know that in a couple of cases that I know personally, an insurance company actually paid for a patient to purchase an energy cleaner. So you might even inquire with your medical professional and see if they can work that out for
Tom,
you. Thank you, John.
Talk to you soon. Got to top the hour break. Back with Steve Hunt. Thank you. All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 22nd of August. The prepper tip of the day. I want to encourage all of you to practice your bug-out route in the daytime and at night. Most people only make that bug-out route in the daytime. Everything's different at night, so it's a good opportunity to get that practice in now while you can. We have patient waiting in the green room, my friend Steve Hunt. Steve is the economic advisor for the John Moore Radio Show. We're going to be talking about economics, the economy, money, where we are right now with this economy, where we're going, and, of course, how to incorporate gold and silver into your personal portfolio to protect family assets. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, John.
Well, sir, we keep hearing rumors that there's going to be a recession. The socialist, Democrats, Muslims, communists would love to have economic downturn to harm President Trump in his bid to be reelected. And here, all us barefoot peasants out here, like myself and you, we don't know precisely what's going to happen. We have the president wanting to maintain a strong economy. We have his opposition wanting to wreck the economy. So that puts us in a perilous position, doesn't it, sir?
It sure does.
Well, the next step, of course, is how to mitigate. And ladies and gentlemen, if you go to my website at thelibertyman.com, you'll see what looks like a red package with a gold ribbon on it. Just click on that. You'll be at Steve's landing site for Swiss America. And the beginning point is to educate yourself, isn't it, Steve?
Well, that's the biggest first step anybody should ever take is learn as much as you can before you do anything.
I've heard it said, and I believe it's quite true, is never to invest in anything you don't understand.
Exactly.
I know out here we have cattle country and men and women involved in raising cattle and selling them. It takes years to understand that industry, what works, what doesn't work, how to be having a profitable business. For a city boy to come out here and buy 100 head of cattle without that knowledge would be a massive mistake. And I've seen that happen where people get involved and they end up making a very expensive mistake. So if you go to Steve's landing page here, Swiss America, the beginning point is to get these publications, The Secret War on Cash and The War Against Economic Freedom. And what else do you have to offer people besides those two publications, Steve?
Well, we just got some new stuff out by Pat Boone is doing some new stuff with Craig Smith. And it's supposed to be done this week, which means today or tomorrow. I'm waiting for it to get released, but I should have that here pretty quick. Okay,
and that's going to be articles or video or what will it be?
It should be a video.
Video, okay. And Pat Boone is in this video, you say?
Yeah, Pat Boone is actually one of our spokesmen for our company.
Oh,
he's
right.
been a spokesman of Swiss America for 30 years.
Does he still wear his white buck shoes? I wonder.
Not that I've seen since he's come in.
Okay. Well, I just wondered because that was one of the songs that was hugely popular back when I was in high school. Well, that's great. That's great. And that should be ready in a couple of days, and people can watch that. And once it's ready, how would people be able to watch it, Steve?
Well, I can email it to you, believe it or not. That's probably the easiest way. That'll be the fastest way they'll come out, and then they will eventually make some DVDs that we can send out to people as well.
Okay. Well, when you go to that landing page, there's a form to fill out with your name, your email address, and so forth. And once Steve has that, then you can email the new Pat Boone video about gold and silver, can't you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that's good. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. And Pat Boone always does a good job. He's been the professional entertainer for more than half a century. Well, getting back to the economy and these geopolitical matters, there's very powerful forces at work on both sides to keep the economy strong and to crash the economy, aren't there?
Well, there sure is. I mean, there was an article that was out on, I think it was CNBC just yesterday, talking about the Democrats are hoping that a crash comes, a recession comes, so they can blame it on Trump. I mean, I've never seen such division like this inside the government ever.
Nobody has. And they're desperate. The socialists, communists, Democrats, Muslims are desperate. They know they're going to lose. They're desperate to find something that will turn this around. And those of us out here in the rest of the country, we can't change these matters. We can't influence either side. At least most of us can. I know a few people who might have some small influence, but majority of us can't. All we can do is what might be called hope for the best and prepare for the worst. Right, Steve?
That's my favorite saying, actually. Yes, sir.
Well, in this case, preparing for the worst means, first of all, educating yourself. Second of all, making wise, prudent purchases of gold and silver coins and bullion, and store them in a safe place where you know that they can come to no harm and not be stolen. And then you've got an insurance policy, you've got peace of mind, and you've got something that will be a family asset for decades into the future, right, Steve?
Well, that's just it. I mean, it's kind of something you just pointed to about all the news that's coming out. As long as I've been doing this for 20 years, I've never seen something like this, and I've read back over history. You probably know more about this than I do, but back in '87, Black Monday, there were no warnings. There was no indicators that you were going to have the biggest crash ever. Then you look back to 2008. Nobody warned us that there was going to be a massive collapse. I mean, there's never have we ever seen so many financial institutions and news sources and people coming out, and they're all just blatantly screaming that there's going to be a crash, and not just a crash of the economy, a crash of the dollar. I mean, for J.P. Morgan to put on their website, get out of dollars and into Asian currencies or into gold, to me that's historic, because it's mind-boggling to see this, and then that people still have blinders on and that they're not worried about it. I mean, people lost their fortunes of their entire investment accounts back in 2008 and 2009. I mean, I have a lot of clients that lost a lot of money that were invested into the stock market. And these people still are invested into the stock market now because they've made so much money. And now they're getting these warning signs, and still they don't want to take their money back out because, that greed has overtaken them. And the problem is if people don't cash out and don't listen to these warnings and at least find, even if you don't want gold, you need to find another physical asset that you can put your money into, whether you go into land or some other type of asset, but you have to do it. You're going to lose everything. I mean, you're never going to see again these J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Forbes has come out. There's something on AP News this morning talking about the economic twilight zone. They're talking now about negative bond rates in Germany. I mean, we've never seen things like this. It is just complete financial chaos.
I know what negative interest rates are, but tell people what that means. Negative bond rates, negative interest rates.
Imagine if you go to the bank and normally you want to buy a $50 bond and it costs you $25, and it'll be ready in 15 years or whatever, 20 years. Now you're going to the bank saying, I want a $50 bond. You've got to give them $60, and it's going to go down. I mean, you're now paying the bank to take out less money. Those are negative rates. And this is huge.
Instead of the bank paying you, you're paying the bank.
You're paying the bank now. Now the bank is getting money on the bond. I mean, the first time ever that a 30-year bond is at negative interest rates. I mean, that's incredible.
Another way to look at it would be that the bank is borrowing money from you. You're not loaning money. You're not making an investment anymore. You're actually making
You just became the bank.
You became the bank.
Every citizen just became the bank. You're now paying interest for that bank.
Well, such a deal. I don't think I want to participate in such a scheme myself. It doesn't sound very good.
No, but the problem is this is being floated around the United States now too. I mean, everybody's talking about, what if we cut rates again today? They're supposed to come out with an announcement today or tomorrow about, maybe doing another rate cut. At some point, you get to zero. I mean, there's only one other way you can go. You keep going past it, and you get to negative. I mean, this is, we've never been this low historically for rates for our government. This is going to be a big deal.
The Federal Reserve is discussing lowering the rate again?
Yeah.
What, a quarter point? Typically, it's a quarter point. What is it now? What would it be?
I don't know what it would be. I mean, they keep saying that they're not going to do it. We'll have to see what they come out with, but I know that Trump is screaming at them to lower rates again.
Now,
and the funny thing is
this would be the rate that the Federal Reserve Bank charges banks for interest. Is that accurate?
Correct. And a report came out last night, which is why Trump is so upset, that the initial jobs numbers that has been reported over the last 2 years since 2018, they added 501,000 jobs that never existed to those reports. So now they're saying that the jobs reports aren't as good as they've been reporting for the last year and a half. And Trump is saying we have to cut rates. He's very adamant about this, and Powell is just not having it. He wants nothing to do with it.
Right. Well, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. The chairman of the Federal Reserve is not somebody that the president can tell what to do. In fact, the president can't even fire the chairman of the Federal Reserve. So it's a private entity that receives no government funding, which is why there's never been an audit by the Internal Revenue Service of the Federal Reserve, because they're not or by Congress, I mean. And so they're very independent, aren't they?
Very independent, and that's why it's such an open battle between the two of them, because Trump has no influence, but he's making it a public battle to try and put pressure on Powell to drop the rates even more. I mean, if we drop them again, we're going to be talking. I mean, we're at 2 to 2.25 right now. If you drop it another quarter point, you're at 1.75 to 2. I mean, that's historically that's going to be one of the lowest rates we've ever had.
Amazing. Back when I had my real estate business in the early 80s, I was paying 12% on the loans I was getting to buy the properties I was buying. Wow was right, but we had a positive cash flow, so I wasn't particularly concerned about that as long as we had positive cash flow. And we got a caller in hold here. We got Jerry in Texas. Good morning, Jerry.
Good morning. 08, you had I'd say, what was it? Interest rates dropped on investments and treasury bonds and this sort of thing. In the 80s, I remember the 80s real well. They just dried up the money. You couldn't. Interest rates didn't necessarily go up. They was just no money. They wouldn't loan you any money. And then back in the 70s, right around the oil embargo, so-called oil embargo, interest rates went through the roof. I was in the home construction business back then, and home mortgages was 18% for a 30-year mortgage. It's all manipulation. I mean, I'm speaking the obvious here. But I've got a question on this negative interest. Is that a ploy to get a bunch of the foreign treasury bondholders to sell their bonds at a discount rate to pull in a bunch of the U.S. debt?
I'm not sure what is really behind it, to be very honest with you. If I gave you an answer, it would be just pure speculation. I think that banks are having a hard time with money right now. I mean, the money that's out there just doesn't exist. So, as in debt as these countries are, by not having gold standards and a dollar that's worth anything, they're loaning out this funding money, but they run out of money. I mean, have you gone to a bank lately and asked for $5,000 in cash and see what happens? I mean, they will ask you a million questions because they don't have the money, and how dire need do you need this? Because we need it too. They don't want to hand over the money. I think the money is just drying up. You got to remember, all the money that's in all these banks, it's all just digital numbers. There is no paper. They could print off money 24/7 for the next 20 years and never even print half the money that's in existence.
They talk about the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. I've been telling people that the U.S. or the Federal Reserve note, all it is, the U.S. monetary system, all it is a cryptocurrency because
absolutely,
everything is either credit card, debit card, or electronic transfer. I'd say 99.9% of all transactions, there is no physical anything doled out. I mean, we've been in a cryptocurrency here in the United States for the last 20 years minimum.
Yeah, that's 40 years, yeah.
Yeah. So this Bitcoin cryptocurrency, that's the truth is just now coming out on it. So far as I'm concerned,
I agree with
it's
you.
all with zero. So I was just listening. I get to thinking, and I've been told not to ask questions and think quite frequently. But I just happen to think that perhaps if they go with a negative interest, China and Saudi Arabia and Japan and what have you, they're going to be dumping these U.S. Treasury bonds and what have you. So they don't want no part in it.
Well, China is the biggest one. I mean, China is if you've heard that China has the nuclear briefcase they keep talking about, I mean, that's what China has. If they keep saying that all they need to do is sell their Treasury bonds, and it would absolutely just kill our economy, kill our dollar, kill everything. So
I read an article. And I'm going to say this, I guess, kind of in a disagreement. I read an article, and I should have printed it. It was, I think I've told Dr. John about this. It was several years ago, and I went back and tried to find it, and guess what?
Jerry,
it's
hold
not
on.
there.
Got a break. Hold on,
Okay.
Jerry. We'll finish up.
Thanks.
As a listener of RBN, you're surely concerned about being informed and being ready for whatever may come. Please consider the following questionnaire as a soul-jarring wake-up call. If you answer no to more than 2 of these following questions, you probably aren't going to make it through any major disruption in our country. The questions were compiled by people that have been there. Are you really ready? Do you own your own firearm for the primary defense and protection of you and your loved ones? Have you ever been professionally trained to stand against life-threatening behavior? Have you ever practiced enough to fire 500 rounds during a 2 to 4 day time frame, day and night? Can you load, unload, fire, and clear a jam in total darkness? Have all the adults in your household been professionally trained? Are you, life and death, comfortable with your abilities with pistol, revolver, shotgun, and rifle? Are you aware that everything that you do to prepare for an emergency is a waste of time, money, and energy? If you haven't honed your abilities to their highest level to protect and keep what you have? Do you have the repair parts that will most likely be needed for each of your firearm, and do you have the ability to install those parts? Could you completely clean every firearm you own? Are you aware that your body won't go where your mind hasn't been? In other words, without proper training, followed by regular practice, you probably will not win a gunfight. Well, how did you measure up? Take the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to start correcting your deficiencies by receiving your Commander Lifetime Membership with Front Sight Firearms Training Facility. A one-time donation to RBN for $500 will give you a Commander Lifetime Membership at Front Sight as a tremendously huge thank you bonus. See details on RBN's webpage to make it happen. The clock is ticking. You had better be ready before it happens.
Republic Broadcasting Network depends on listener support of our advertisers and of our sponsors. We'd like to especially thank all of you who have taken advantage of our fundraiser with FrontSight Bonus. Those who are now FrontSight members, please train as soon as possible for your sake and for that of our nation. And please consider sharing your training and what you've learned when you arrive home. Republic Broadcasting Network has to stop promoting this fundraiser on air and on the website in just a few days. Dr. Ignatius Piazza, president of FrontSight, made a gracious exception to his no media rule for us at Republic Broadcasting Network. Thank you, Dr. Piazza. And once you've been to FrontSight, feel free to call your favorite host and share your experience on the air. We can continue this fundraiser without media help, but it'll be totally up to the listeners to spread the information. Please call Dan Sutterfield in Missouri at 573-465-2356, 573-465-2356. That's 573-465-2356.
All right, we're back. Karen Moore here on Thursday. It is Thursday the 22nd. We're going on a cruise. If you want to join us, it'll be a lot of fun. It will be a romantic cruise for some of you, since Valentine's Day will be right in the middle of it. Details at my website at thelibertyman.com. Jerry, let's wrap up your comments, sir. We're almost out of time.
Okay. It was an article about during the oil embargo, during Nixon administration, where he sent an emissary over to Saudi Arabia and cut a deal with them on selling U.S. Treasury bonds and what have you. Not directly to Saudi Arabia, but through some of these little nation states like Lithuania, Estonia, wherever they may be. And but this article said that Saudi Arabia was the largest holder of U.S. Treasury bonds. But I can't find the article anymore. It's one of those deals that poof, it's gone. But they were supposed to have something like twice what China was holding. I don't know. Just something to think about. But anyway, thanks for taking my call, and y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Jerry.
You do the same. And I'll comment on that. I know that Japan used to be the number one holder of Treasury bonds, but I think China passed them about 10 years ago or so, and China has about I think it's 1.1 trillion in U.S. Treasury bonds, and I think Japan now has just over a trillion of their own in Treasury bonds. I mean, and here's the thing: people don't realize what happened if China, with this whole trade war. China gets upset. Like the rumor is that they keep threatening, if you don't get rid of these embargoes and these trade things with us, we're going to sell this stuff. Well, if they sell it, what would happen? The U.S. borrowing rate, because our credit would go horribly down.
That's right.
The rate for the U.S. government to borrow would go through the roof. Which means that people buy homes, your interest rate would go back up to what you were talking about, John, 15 to 18%, rates, and no one's going to buy a house. No one's going to buy a car. No one's going to buy anything where you have to finance it. And that means that the economy is almost a complete standstill.
We got our last caller. We got Don calling from Australia. Good morning, Don.
It's Darren. Hello, John.
Go ahead.
I just called randomly, and I'm glad I got your show. I love your voice.
Okay, thank you. What's your question or comment, sir?
No question or comment. I called randomly. I just called to say hi. I can't believe I got the number correct.
Okay.
Took a few guys.
All right. Well,
yeah, I don't want to waste your time.
Okay. Well, thank you for the call, Don. We appreciate it. All right. If you don't have internet access, you want to contact Steve, here's the telephone number, twice slowly, 800-630-1491. I say again, 800-630-1491. Give Steve a call. He'd be glad to forward these two publications to you, The Secret War on Cash, The War Against Economic Freedom, and begin building your base of knowledge to the point where you understand what's going on, why it's going on, what you need to do to protect your family, and then work with Steve to get those protections put in place. Right, Steve?
Yes, sir. That's the key.
It is. It is, absolutely. And the time to do it is now. I keep mentioning 14 months, Steve, and when I was in Washington, D.C. last week, I got private confirmation that at the highest levels of our government, there's very grave concerns about what will happen when Donald Trump wins re-election in 14 months. These are real concerns based on real evidence, and people need to educate themselves and take action now while we can take action. Correct, Steve?
Well, that's just it. I mean, everybody likes to wait so long until it happens. And, if you were going through the intersection and you saw the car was about to nail you, you don't have time to put a seatbelt on it. It's too late. And it's the same scenario right now, everybody. You've gotten warnings from so many different areas. You guys have to take the first step and at least do some research and get some free information so that you can learn more and that you can be prepared, at an earlier stage than when waiting until it's too late and you lose your fortune and then it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. When the opportunity's gone, it's gone. And that's simply the way life works. Life is two things, Steve: decisions and the consequences of those decisions. And I think that will stand up to scrutiny. So we're putting it out here for everybody to think about and ponder and educate themselves, and then make that decision. Doing nothing is a decision in and of itself, isn't it?
It sure is, and that's your choice. I mean, that's but unfortunately, you have to be willing to say to yourself, I'm okay if my dollar goes down by 50 to 70%, and I'm okay starting over.
Well, that may be okay if you're 25 years old, but for many of us, that's not a viable option. Not at all. Not at all. What's your final comments, sir? We're about out of time this half hour.
It's right now. It's once again, I'm going to tell everybody, make sure that if you have metal, I can't urge you enough to just give me a call. I've had several callers from the show in the last couple of weeks that have called in, and they've bought things that they didn't think that they bought, and what they have is not the best scenario, moving forward to take advantage of this crash and of gold going up or silver going up. So if you already have metal, just give me a quick call and let me know what you have so I can tell you if you're in a good spot, bad spot, or how to get your position into a better position. So it's just make and it's a quick phone call.
All right, Steve. Thank you, sir. We'll have you back next week. 5 hour break.
Sir, look forward to it.
Thank you, sir. We'll be back with open lines after the break. Stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. We have a special promotion going on at Republic Broadcasting. This is a fundraiser for Republic Broadcasting involving the energy cleaner. Mail me a postcard. My address is at my website at thelibertyman.com. We pick a postcard every other Thursday. When your postcard is drawn out, you get to buy an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285, $70 discount. $200 goes to Republic Broadcasting. You also get a 10% discount on my mattress pads. So get those postcards in, put your name, your telephone number, your email address on there, and when your postcard is drawn, you get to get an energy cleaner for $215 instead of $285. Mattress pads, 10% off. Help us out at Republic Broadcasting and help yourself to get an energy cleaner at a deep discount. It's a win-win situation for everybody. We hope you can get these postcards in soon. Thank you very much. All right, we are back. We're back. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 22nd of August. Lots going on. We have a lot going on. There's never a shortage of issues to deal with. One of the advantages of going on this Caribbean cruise, I've never been on a cruise. In fact, my last vacation was 1994, so this is a big deal for me. This cruise will move forward. The first one we were hoping to put together, we really quite frankly, didn't know what we were doing when we were putting it together. But this time we got it right. And Leon Green will be with us. We'll have possibly Sam Andrews. That's won't be firmed up until sometime in October. And you'll meet people, spend time with people, get to have lengthy conversations with folks, including myself, you would never, ever have a chance to do otherwise. All the details at my website at thelibertyman.com. The cruise leaves Port Canaveral Saturday, the 9th day of February 2020. Returns a week later on the 16th. All the details, like I say, are at my website at thelibertyman.com. If you don't have internet access, give our cruise director a call. She'll be glad to mail you a full-color brochure. Our cruise director is Betsy Murphy at 636-530-9502. Okay. There was I think I may have mentioned this earlier. There was a posting on Facebook. In fact, I did mention this earlier. A short clip, I believe, less than 2 minutes from the Weather Channel. I've never been a big fan of the Weather Channel, but millions of people watch Weather Channel. They were interviewing a scientist about lightning. He was up in Maine, I believe. On the wall behind the scientist was an image of North America with different coastlines, basically the Navy map. His head was blocking part of the image, but you could see that the East Coast, where 85 million people live, was underwater. Florida was gone, and so forth. That was easily seen there. Right now, at the highest levels, the concern is the traveling companions of Planet X. Traveling companions being rocks. Rocks the size of pickup trucks, rocks the size of Rhode Island. Big rocks, little rocks going many times the speed of sound. Land strikes are bad. If you live within 10 or 20 or 50 miles of a land strike with a big rock hits you, it'll probably kill you. Water strikes are worse, however, hitting the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, and so forth, because of the tidal waves created by these falling rocks. I recently, in mainstream news, there was 2 small federal agencies. Each agency had about 50 employees or so, part of the Department of Agriculture, being moved from the East Coast further inland. I expect to see more of that, and it won't necessarily make the news, by the way. I was kind of surprised that story made the news. Moving essential services, essential parts of the federal government from the coast to the interior, where there's a greater likelihood they'll be safe. This is real. This is what the government's concerned about right now. Now, they have imaging technology to see what's coming at us and have some idea about the size of these rocks, the trajectory, the speed, of course. And what they see is very concerning. And the scientists are telling men and women at the highest levels of our government, you better be getting some of these people out of Dodge because, well, you just need to do it while you can. From the time of close detection until impact, you're looking at maybe hours if they're lucky, maybe days if they're even luckier. Not much time. Maybe time to evacuate critical people, but not to take all their things that they need for their work, as in the Department of Agriculture. Maybe they have time to download everything on a thumb drive, but that's kind of a nuance. But the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is these rocks are coming, and they will make impacts. I don't know how many, I don't know how big, I don't know where, but it looks like it seems to be inevitable. So throw that in the mix with a 14-month time frame. Nothing we can do about it. We have no control over what rocks hit where. None whatsoever that I'm aware of. In Hollywood, of course, they always make a spectacular movie about Bruce Willis, for example, diverting a asteroid that's about to strike the planet. Well, that's Hollywood. That's fiction. They may make some similar attempts. If things are bad enough, and they think they have an opportunity to maybe make a change in a big asteroid that would be about to hit Earth, of course they'll make the attempt if it has any viability at all. Being away from these coastlines is a smart thing. East Coast, West Coast, Gulf Coast, which, by the way, is where, about 3/4 of the population lives, is within 100 miles of the Atlantic Ocean, Gulf of Mexico, Pacific Ocean. That's about 3 out of 4 people in the country. Seriously, that's the way it is. And that's where the greatest danger is. Now, here in the middle of the country, we're going to have an inland sea stretching from the Gulf of Mexico to Lake Michigan. That will take out millions of homes and most likely tens of thousands of lives. Hard to say. It depends on how fast moving it is. The federal government's been aware of this since 1979, 40 years ago. Pioneer 10 space probe found the 10th planet. They've been tracking it ever since, keeping quiet about it ever since, and making plans ever since. Extensive shelters. They've spent billions of dollars. Most likely, most of it coming out of the Department of Defense budget. I find it rather ironic that the money lost from the Pentagon is equal to the federal deficit, about $21 trillion. You can do an awful lot with $21 trillion in terms of building shelters, I believe, no doubt whatsoever. And the Pentagon has had clever ways to hide their money spending for many decades, going back to World War II, possibly even earlier. So we don't know what they've done. We have some evidence of the deep underground military bases that have been built, other things, but for the most part, it's pretty secret. I'm aware of some of the secret projects myself. I've flown over some of these secret projects, taking photographs. And they do exist. They absolutely do exist. I work with various men over the years who have interviewed construction workers at these sites, interviewed people who worked at these sites. That's where we get a lot of our information, is first-hand interviews, not reading anonymous stories on the internet, but actually interviewing people that have been there as employees, both for contractors and actual government employees. President Trump can't change everything. Many of these forces put in place are above his ability to do anything. Preparing for Planet X is just a wise thing to do, and President Trump's not going to stop that. Of course he's not going to stop it, because it's the right thing to do. Continuity of government is important. That doesn't mean continuity of your life, however, unless you happen to be one of those select few that would have access to what the elites call hotels. That's what they call these underground bunkers where people will stay, hotels. And I'm sure some of them are probably almost as luxurious as a nice hotel. They're probably fairly Spartan, but some of them might have some pretty nice interiors. So you might be almost anywhere on this planet listening to us this morning, thinking about these matters, and thinking about all the other obligations you have, your career, your family, church obligations. We all have lots of things pulling us in lots of different directions, wanting two things from us, time and money. That's family assets, time and money. I do private consultations for preparedness, and frequently one spouse or the other doesn't want to hear about it, does not want family resources, time and money spent on preparedness. That happens a lot. I would say almost half the cases that I work with somebody in a consultation, the spouse does not want to hear about it, doesn't want family resources spent on it. I very quickly grew to understand that that's simply the way it is, and I'm not going to change it. How do you get somebody who doesn't believe this is real to understand that it is real? Well, that's a good question. My DVD, Global Warming, What the Government Isn't Telling You, has helped a lot of people get their spouses to be aware that this is real. My other DVDs also help. My Prague presentation has been a big help. It's hard to say. There's no silver bullet. There's no way to tell in advance which of these DVDs will be the one that will inform your spouse, your significant other, that this is real. No way to tell in advance. So let's see here. I'm just looking at some things on my website here. And, yep, we need to make some change. Here we go. All right. Violent climate change, what the government isn't telling you. That's my Prague presentation, 2 hours and 16 minutes, where I was awarded the Prague Peace Prize. I was the Prague Peace Prize winner in 2017. The sponsor of the Prague Peace Prize, Alexandra Bourne, she called me up that spring. We started talking. My first job was to make sure that this was real and not somebody's flight of fancy. Alexandra is a retired psychiatrist. She lived and worked in Sweden most of her life and got to know the Nobel family. She was a house guest of the Nobel family, as a matter of fact. I guess that's where she got the idea for the Prague Peace Prize. She asked me the following question: John, what did you think when you found out your government, the American government, would not inform people about Planet X? And here's what I told her. I said, Alexander, at first we're going back to year 2000, I was very upset when I first realized that was the case, that our government would not inform people about this. That was 19, 20 years ago. I no longer feel that way, is what I told Alexandra. Informing people in advance of this event would cause people to have needless misery and die prematurely from something that's going to kill them anyway at some point in the future. So what's the point? Let these people have another 20 years of what might be called normal life, living and working, getting married, having children, raising children, and all the rest of it, as opposed to warning them early and putting them through misery and possibly death decades before it needs to happen. As much as I don't like it, that is the correct decision. There's no place for 300 plus million people in the safe areas of the Arkansas, Missouri Ozarks to come and live. That place doesn't exist. It's not going to exist. So what's the point? There is no point. There's no point in telling the general public. I tell the general public, but compared to the 330 million people in this country, my outreach is a tiny, tiny percentage of 1%. Not even 1/10 of 1%. So they're not worried about John Moore. In fact, they may applaud what I do. I don't know. I do know that I'm not going to have an outreach to the whole country. That's not going to happen. It won't be allowed to happen. Before all this, I was scheduled to be a guest on the O'Reilly Factor one Friday. Everything was set up and ready to go. In the morning of the interview, Senator Wellstone's plane crashed, and I was preempted and never got a second chance to be back on the O'Reilly Factor. I was on Fox News 3 times in the fall of 2001, talking about terrorism. 2 times. The first show went well. The second show went well. I was working with a young female producer out of New York City. She talked way too fast. And she says, John, we're getting some good numbers here on your appearance on Fox News. What do you want to do next? What do you want to talk about? I said, let's do this. Let's talk about the feel-good, make-believe security at American airports. She says, okay, I'll talk to my boss. And she gets back with me the next day. She says, John, we're sorry, we can't do that. It's too scary. That was the end of my Fox News career, as short as it was, only 2 shows. But that was talking about terrorism, is what that was. This topic about Planet X and related topics will not be on Fox News. It's not going to happen. It won't be allowed to happen, or on any other network either. It simply won't be allowed to happen. It's too scary. It's bad for business. So you're sitting out there considering these things, listening to John Moore on Thursday, the 22nd of August. You may be thinking, boy, he's only 14 months. I can't do much in 14 months. Well, there's lots you can do in 14 months. I do a little something every day for preparedness. Sometimes it's a big thing. Sometimes it's a little thing. But I do a little something every day. And you can and you should also. Make that list and prioritize it. It may be a big thing, like getting a retreat for your family, a safe haven. That's a really big thing. Get that under your belt and get that underway. And then start preparing it to live there full time or to come there during a crisis. Your choice. I know during the Ferguson riots, I had friends that had homes in Ferguson, and one family had a second home in the country. And they evacuated the wife and children to the country, and the husband and the oldest son, who was, I think, 17 or 18 years old, they stayed behind to protect the family assets, which is the home. Keeping in mind that homeowners insurance does not pay for any loss as a consequence of civil disorder. Here's our last break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
All right, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. J.R. Moore here on Thursday, the 22nd of August. Tomorrow we'll have Tom Berryhill, the first hour, talking about emergency communications. The second hour, we'll have Dr. Lynn Wilbert talking about health-related matters. And, of course, next Monday we start all over with Firearms Monday. We draw a big audience for Firearms Monday. Sam Andrews is at the highest level of research and development of rifles, shotguns, pistols, ammunition, projectiles, optics. Many of you have probably heard of the Night Force telescopic scopes for rifles, rifle scopes. Sam designed the reticle on one of those scopes. He's on a first-name basis with the men and women involved in the highest levels of engineering of anything and everything to do with the firearms industry. He is. And I'm very grateful that Sam is able to be with us every Monday and talk about these matters. My Tuesday guest, Steve Ben-Nun, former CIA operative. He's really drawing a big audience also. I'm finding many people know Steve and have been following him independent of me. We have a lot of fun the second hour with Leon Green talking about everything under the sun, our favorite vehicle, the deuce and a half, and so forth. And of course, doTERRA essential oils, more health-related matters. Professor McCanny should be back next Wednesday. He was unavailable yesterday. He's considering going on the cruise with us. I don't know if he will or not. It'd be great to have Jim with us. Jim's a friend, and we've met in person a couple of times, and we seem to get along quite well. The second hour, Jeff Nyquist. Jeff has a work conflict that won't allow him to get away unless something changes. He would like to go with us. He hasn't had a vacation in years either. And brings us back to Thursdays. So it's a regular routine we have to bring up-to-date information that will inform you, entertain you, help you be healthier. That's one of my ongoing mantras, is to help people regain lost health, to maintain their current health. As I mentioned earlier, that high school reunion I went to yesterday was pretty scary, seeing what time has done to these men and women I went to high school with. It doesn't have to be that way. It simply does not have to be that way. Having more trips around the sun doesn't translate necessarily into being obese and having multiple health issues. For most people, most of the time, that seems to be the case, but it doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. There's nothing inevitable about those things. Not at all. If you want to get started, you're just getting started in preparedness, look at getting some basic skills. First aid, CPR skills, ham radio skills. Whether your group is 6 or 600, those two skills will be in the biggest demand and shorter supply. That's it for the day. Get medical supplies, your energy, cleaning, essential oils. Now, like you can, your firearms ammunition. Never, ever get it. Please do a fun, safe, productive day. God bless America.